All right. Ready?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As they indicated, I'm DP Donovan from the Kiwanis Club of Portmore. And today I'm supposed to be talking about... What's that? And the father club for Kiwanis Club of South.
Alright.
Right? So I'm young, but you know,
You're old.
I can do a thing. You know what I mean? All right. So let's talk about the money. Now, DLG indicated that, indicate to you how much projects they do and, it all feels good. And that's a nice part of Kiwanis. You giving service to somebody. But it requires some resources. It requires money, right? And it's not coming from the sky. It means that we have to figure out where it's coming from. And it's up to us as members, right? So we don't want to lead you into Kiwanis and then somebody comes here and say, hey, some money. So we need to tell you about it first.
That's right.
That's what we're here about, right? So when you're coming into the club, you're coming in with your eyes wide open, right? So I'm gonna lay it out for you. Some areas of the story I'm going to skip because it's not too relevant. So I'm gonna touch on the areas that make sense. All right, so club accounts, right? In order for us to manage the process, your finances of the club and sponsor all of these projects, it means that we have to have an account. We have to know what's happening. So a budget has to be done by the different committees. So you hear DLG talk about how they go to the prison and they do that. There's a committee that manages that. There's another committee that manages the other thing. The money, in terms of getting money to the club, you have a finance committee, finance and fundraising. They do stuff, and that's where they're gonna need your support to get that done, to put on fundraising projects. And that's what brings the money into the club. So that's one source, right? So we have our accounts and we manage it, and we normally have 2 accounts. Now, 2 accounts doesn't mean 2 bank accounts. It means 2 categories, right? So just like any company, we have several accounts, but it's one bank we have, right? So it's a matter of how you manage these categories. So now, as a Kiwanis club, we don't have what most other companies have, an accounting software to manage, all of that. We don't want to spend the money on that. So we do it manually. But we still have to do the same things. We still have to cover where the money is coming from. What's the source of the funds? What we're spending it on, right? Financial report at the end of the day to determine how is it. We have to present it to somebody, right? And also to be able to manage members in terms of their payments so we can know who has paid. Let's kick that back. All right, so we have 2 types of fund, right? And once you join the club, you're gonna keep hearing them talking about admin fund and service funds and things like that. Now, what the DLG has been talking about a lot is the service fund, service projects, which is funded by the service funds. So Kiwanis set up or asked us to have 2 categories of accounts: an admin account and a service fund account, and they must be managed separately. The money mustn't cross, right? And why is it? Because one of the first things when I joined Kiwanis Club is why we have to separate the money. Money no money. $5 look like $5 over here. But I'm going to give you a story. My mom had a liquor shop, and in the summer, that's where you make my little money, right? And how you make your money, if she said the thing is for $100, you sell it for $105 your own. And that's how we make the money. So anyway, when we collect the money, she would normally put it in the drawer, but inside that drawer you have a whole heap of elastic band with this money is that money. I know country people have a paper that tell you what is on it. to me, money is money. So when I sell the thing, I want a change, so I take some out of that and take some out of that and that. I get a lick in the mail. Right? No, my mother don't have a clue. Right? That was her system. But to me, money is money. And the same thing with Kiwanis. We separate it because we need to know and track them separately. And I'm going to get to some more reasons. The next reason is that basically for the US companies, they have a law that says, similar to what you have the GAA, General Accepted Accounting Principles. The same rule applies. And the reason for that, if they're going to compare accounts to accounts, there has to be some standards. So Kiwanis has set their standards as well, which is the two separate accounts. Because what you don't want to have happen is that money coming from the public is being used to pay your dues. When the public is giving them money to support your services. Right? So that's why we do this separation. The next thing it will also tell you, if you look on the accounts, if you separate it like that, you will know right away whether the members are paying the dues. Because you have an account for it, separate from the service account. But if you just lump everything together, you don't have a clue. Right? So you need to separate. Alright? Again, transparency and trust. Alright, so the two accounts we have, as I indicated, the administrative funds and the service funds. Now, what is the administrative fund? And what is it used for? It's used for the operations and internal expenses of the club. So it's like that food you see down there, so it's part of that admin fund. Right? I know people money outside buying that. Right? Meeting dues, training, postage. Right? Members, dues, fundraisers done by the club, by the club members. Like if we have a little bingo with ourselves, that money that we raise is us. So the way to look at it, if it's internal, right, and by the members, it's administrative fund or expenses. Right? Very easy to remember. Service funds, used for community service projects. So expenses, any donation you get from public to use for those projects. Right? Scholarships that you would have gotten that you're expensing to give scholarships to persons. You're using the funds from outside. Right? And public fundraising, once you're engaging the public, any money raised through that method is for service. Right? So you can't say you're gonna have a public raffle to pay for your members to go to convention. That can't work. Right? Because persons like me who donate money or entities who donate money to the club going to stop. Because you have just committed fraud.
Wow.
Right? So you can't do that, and it's very important because the public trusts you to ensure that you're going to use the money in a way to benefit the needy. They could have done it enough, but they don't have the structure that we have. So instead of them trying to put a team together and go out there, they say, listen up, I know Kiwanis, I know the reputation, I know everything. Here is the money, you go do it. Just mention my name when you're doing it. Right? And that's how it works. So, no mixing of fund. Right? Service fund cannot be used for administrative costs. However, admin fund can be used to support service activity if it's voted on by the members and it's in your policy. Remember that. Right? But it can't be the other way around. Right? Whereas you can use your club money that your members give you to support your service, you can't use the service to support the admin. Right? Good. Now, for the persons who use the manual way, this is probably what most of our accounts will look like. There are 3 columns. The left side, most of us call it ledger, or what we call it categories or items. And then they have the administrative fund, and they list it out there, and the service funds, and they add it up at the end of the day and see what's happening, and that's supposed to match back with the bank. Right, so what are the consequences of not doing it? I touched on some of those already. The trust issue. Right? The mixing up money. Right? Mismanagement. It can lead to fraud. 500 look like 500 here or here. So fraud can take place. Right? And I'm sure if you look at several history of service organizations, you have seen fraud, and you can read about it, fraud coming through by those methods because the accounting principles that they were using was wrong. Right? They weren't adhering to the rules. So, best practices. If you can't manage it to account in one, create 2 bank accounts. Much easier. But if you're good enough and can do the thing, you need only need one. Right? So when in doubt, create 2. Maintain your categories, your ledgers, the items, so it's consistent across. Right? So you can tie expense and those things. And the treasurer need to be well trained. They need to understand service funds as against admin funds, right? And then to conduct regular reviews. So the rule of thumb, internal, admin, and service fund is external to the public. Now, for us to get, for you as new members coming, there is it's a club. If you join in a club, there's money required. You don't just join a club like that. Any club that you're going to join, right? There's some dues, right? You're growing up in school coming up, every club. I mean, right, at school I was in so much club, my lunch money finished, right? Because I had to pay so much dues, right? And then when I got to my parents and say, beg a little more, now my lunch, I'm hungry. And say, where your lunch money? I tell them, I paid for that, I paid for that, I paid for that. They say, you're dead hungry, right? But, right? So, the idea is that there's dues involved. And some of those dues is not from your club itself. These are dues because we're part of an international organization. It's not here. And you would have read up a lot of those already, as the elder indicated to you. So you have the Kiwanis international dues, right? That's the higher ups, right? Some of those people, a lot of us in our lifetime will probably never meet those, right? But those are the international dues. You have the district, you will meet those, because they come to Jamaica, we go to Dominica, all over, right? That's our people, that's the district dues. So you have that. Then you have the club dues, right? You have KFJ, Kiwanis Foundation of Jamaica.
Division.
And you have the divisional dues. So those are true. They seem like a lot, but it's not big money we're talking, right? So in total, in Jamaican dollars, all of those combined come to about $9,700 and something dollars. Now, your club might add something to it, so that when you come, you can get food like that, right? So that they can support their SLP clubs, because they have to pay those dues as well, right? So they add a little something to it for the club, right? Maybe an extra $1,000. So instead of $9,700, you pay $10,500. No, it doesn't mean that you have to pay all of that at one point. Each club can be innovative in the way they do their fees. You have to pay it before the year end. There's no doubt about that. We collected it. But the club can say, okay, here what I will do. You make a deposit, a monthly deposit of say $1,000 or $2,000 every month. And by the year finish, that's it, you're done. So it doesn't stress you out in the way if you had to find 10,500 at the beginning. And also,
There's a caveat to that, DP Donovan,
Yes.
because even though you're saying they can extend it for the year, you have to point out when the dues are due to
okay,
Kiwanis
I'm
International.
getting to that.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, Kiwanis International dues is due by, I think, what's it, November 31st. They keep moving it down. It was December, and then they move it. So I don't know where they're going. I don't know what next year will be.
No, it's not. They haven't moved it. What happened is
The district
Kiwanis International
still have it as December.
still have it as November. November is when they give the district, ECNC district, for
Which-
the district members to pay their dues, but the district give us until the 31st of December,
It was an extension.
technically.
Yes, technically.
Right.
So things are happening, and the international set one dues, and the division
Right.
can decide.
The
on
district.
How the district can decide on how it's done, and we follow what the district
Right.
says. So, because it's beneficial to us,
Exactly.
right? So it means that there's a date in which it has to be paid, right? But each club can come up with their own mechanism in how the payment is done, right? Clubs do it differently. My club do it one way, but guess what? At the end of the year, every member has to pay,
Right.
right? And who don't pay, my club not so nice. We're going to call you out, right? But the idea is that we encourage each other to pay, right? Because once you realize this is where the funding coming from, to pay for this location that we're having the meeting in, to pay for, pens, to pay for promotions that we're doing, right? We want to go to a particular area and it requires the members to go and they need transportation. If the club have to fund it, then it has to come out of that. If your club is one of those clubs who says, okay, our president must go to our president must go to district convention provided by the club, it means that's admin money. Is the members have to pay for that president to go. Right? And I think it's something every club should do.
Yeah.
But so that we have representation there.
Yeah.
Right?
I just wanted to share with you, DP Donovan, that what we do in our club, we try to promote that and encourage that. We ask our members to pay at least 50% of your dues by December. And then we also, as a best practice, ask the board members and officers, you can't be owing because you have to lead by example. So we ask our board members and our officers to pay up all their dues by December. However, there's still that 50% that we ask that you pay by December. And then what we tend to do is we benefit from a club member who is willing to use their credit card sometimes and pay all the money up front, and then we recoup it over
Time.
the
Yeah.
year. Yes,
That's-
we try. We do. That's one of the
yeah.
strategies that we use.
Another way sometimes we encourage members to overpay.
Yes, some members.
Right?
we
So
have a
we
few
do
that
have
will pay
members
a little
that-
extra.
We have money for a good amount of money for them. Right? And I see the new members them do it. They just say, listen now, I don't want to have this consideration now. I'm into a little money now. Here, hold this. Right? And then, especially when you're joining mid-year, rather than paying just the prorated fee that KI says. So KI is gonna come and say, okay, you're joining in August for argument's sake. August, September, that's too much. So your fee is $2,000. As a Kiwanian, this is what I pay the full fee. Because your club is gonna carry the difference over to the next month. Right? And that's what we encourage our new Kiwanians to do, which is happening. I see it happening. Right? Well, it's happening for us. And I think it could happen, once persons know the money is not lost. It's still your money. Right? You just account for it in the following year. So dues are very important. Very, very important. And being a Kiwanian, that is paramount. And the president indicated to you, person in good standing. That's one of the criteria. It's not just you doing service and all that. Yes, that's all well and good. Right? So let me give you another story. I'm in a particular complex, and this probably happened to several complexes. Right? Only 30% of the person's pay maintenance.
Oh Lord.
Right? The 70% don't pay. But yet still they want to come in, they want to see the grass cut, they want to see the pool well sanitized, they want to see all of the security guard at the front. Hello Mr. Morgan, how you doing? Welcome home. They want to see all of that. But they don't pay. Right? We can't be like that. If we say we're Kiwanians, your dues is a part of the process. Right? So if you're going to be a true Kiwanians, do that. If it's not something you can do, you need to just take for yourself. You can always be a friend of the club. We're not taking that away from you. And you can always come and support the project. But your name will not be written in that day. And you still provide the same service. So if it's service you love, do that. Right? Hope I don't frighten you. Right? Great. All right. Any questions for me now? Yes.
What is the due amount?
Okay. Well, each club, as I indicated, different. What I can indicate is what the international division and all of those dues are. But each club adds something to it, as I indicated to you, to manage the rest of the operation.
And as I mentioned, once you have decided that, yes, I want to become a member of the Kiwanis Club of South St. Catherine, then the orientation comes in, and that's when all that will be said to you or presented to you, what our dues is, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Right.
What's the dues now?
15.
I just want to add, if you Donovan. So, one of the reasons why we have add-ons and so on is because we have to pay for our meeting venue, for instance, to cover some of that cost. We recoup some of the cost when members come in and pay a door fee, like you see collected this evening. But one of the reasons why we have the add-ons is for various reasons, to cover what we call our club section.
Like 162, 163.
But we recoup some of that throughout the year. But it's a matter of balancing the budget and making sure, because it's not a profit. We don't, the dues that we collect, we don't get anything from that. It goes straight into our admin account. Right now,
Yes.
right. But it really covers some of the cost for the group. Yes.
Good. And also that's one of the reasons why the account is presented at all meetings, meaning that they have to show it to you, so that you know what is happening to your money. Right? Can you see a fundraiser being done and it seems